Nothing wrong with admitting that you might need a little help.
Well, how much did he bring?
About half a bottle, it looks like. Okay, so let's do this again. So, you were born June 2nd, 1935 in Granger, Utah, right? And then what were you saying?
My family had been living in Seattle, Washington, while Grandpa went to graduate school at the University of Washington to get his PhD. Then he went up to Alaska to find housing and just check it out and see if that looked like a good place for us to live. So Grandma went back to Granger to stay with her family for that first year. And the next June, Grandpa came down by boat and plane
From Seattle.
from Alaska.
Oh, your family was living in Seattle, but your dad was in Alaska.
The family had been living in Seattle, and then as soon as Grandpa got his PhD, he was offered a job in Alaska. Now this was Depression,
Yeah.
so any job was.
Yeah, about where the job was.
So he was offered this job.
So he went to Fairbanks
He went to
find
Fairbanks.
housing, while your mom stayed in, and you guys.
And he was going to spend. He spent the first year there, the first school year, checking out, to see what it would be like with civil life and all that. And then he arrived 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I was born, and that made the newspapers around the country. Because in those days, Alaska was like the far side of the moon.
So when your dad went to Fairbanks from Seattle, did your mom go to Utah?
Yeah.
So they kind of went. Or did she stay in Seattle for 6 months or something like that?
No. Grandpa probably took her down to Salt Lake and we went from there.
Yeah, okay. So then he came back when you were born, got there 10 months beforehand.
Yeah, and we spent the summer.
Now, were you born in the house?
Yeah.
You were born in the house?
My grandparents' house.
Do you remember the address? Do you know what the address was by any chance?
It was something 33rd South. Phone number. It's 33rd South.
Huh.
But
Okay. Kristen, can you go help Holly?
And then in September of 35, we all went to Alaska.
So in September?
Train and boat and plane again to Fairbanks.
So in September of 1935, moved to Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay.
3 years later, we went back to, Grandma was having, I'm not sure, Grandma was, having a hard time adjusting up there. Because she had Howard and Gordon and me, and winter was 9 months of the year.
So Howard and Gerald lived with you guys in Alaska?
No, just Howard.
Was Howard the oldest of all?
He was the oldest.
Where was Gerald then?
He stayed in Salt Lake with a lady called Auntie. We don't really know who she was.
Don't play that. I'm trying to talk to Grandpa.
When Grandpa and his
Stop.
first wife got divorced, he took Howard and she took Gerald. But she was, I don't know if she was crazy or what. But, I don't really know anything about her. But Gerald stayed there in Salt Lake, supposedly with her, but with a lady named, everyone called Annie, who was one that took care of her.
So how old was Howard then when you guys moved to Alaska?
Well, he went to high school there, and then he left in about, well, I don't know, let me see.
So he would have been what?
Okay, I'm trying to think.
15 years older than you, maybe?
In 1938, when school ended in Alaska, we all came back down to Utah. And we stayed there. I had my 4th and my 5th birthdays. And Grandpa took
in Utah.
And Grandpa took all his family to the San Francisco World's Fair and to Mexico. And they left Gordon and me behind. And I felt totally deserted, and I've hated them ever since.
Hated who ever since?
My mom and dad.
Oh. So you guys would have come back to Salt Lake then in spring probably of 1938?
Yeah. And Roger was born in 1939 in Salt Lake.
Okay.
And then I guess it would have been 1940, after my 5th birthday, we went back to Alaska again.
Okay, so
and Howard was there with us until his breathing is kind of heavy. Is that all right?
Yeah, he's okay.
Isn't he supposed to work?
Yeah, you can turn his head sideways. Or actually, I put him on my, if I hold him on my chest, I turn him sideways so he's actually looking this way.
Which way is this one?
I'll show you. Just like this.
He won't work that way, will he?
He's okay. I'll work. So sometime after your fifth birthday, or maybe in 1940, you guys moved back to Alaska.
We moved back to Alaska, and then
Now wait a second.
at some point...
For the roughly 2 years, and that you lived in Salt Lake,
It was
did your dad
18
stay in
years.
Alaska that whole time? Between 1938 and
I
1940?
don't know. Well, he must have gone back, because that was where his job was. He's probably back there during the school year and in Utah during the summers.
Okay. But you don't remember any going back and forth and stuff like that?
No, I was just a little kid. I
Yeah.
do know that in 1939, when they built the Golden Gate Bridge for dedicated, they had the International Expedition World's Fair in San Francisco. And he and Mom and Grandma took his parents and Aunt Ruth, brother Cliff and his wife Nella, or whoever his wife was at the time, took them to San Francisco and on down to Mexico.
Okay.
And Gordon stayed in Tooele, I guess I stayed in Granger, or vice versa. Maybe I can't remember, but anyway. We were split up. And for a little kid, you know, it's basically my family and I was strangers.
Yeah.
And that really did have a psychological.
How long were you split up for then?
Well, just while the folks were gone.
Like 2 weeks or
Oh, I don't-
2 months?
I have no idea how long they were gone. It was probably just a, matter of days.
So you would have been about 4 or 5 years old then, right?
I would have been, somewhere in there, 39, I would have been 4.
Right around 4, yeah. That must have been scary as heck then, being a little 4-year-old by yourself like that with people you didn't even know. Huh.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, no.
It had a psychological effect. And then, but Howard was back in Alaska with us.
Back in 1940 then, when you went back to Alaska.
Yeah, he was born in I want to say 1923.
So, okay, well, so let's go to Alaska.
Well, he graduated from high school in California. He went to California to finish out his high school so he could play football. And I think, as I recall, he had a football scholarship to Santa Clara University. But then the war came along, and
Holly?
I think he got married when he was 18 too. I want to say that. But he went off to war. He became a pilot.
Howard was a pilot in World War II?
Yeah.
At how old would he have been then?
Well,
Late teens or early 20s?
Early 20s.
19 or 20 years old? What kind of plane did he fly, do you know?
B-29.
He flew a B-29? Did he actually fight in the war? I mean, fly in the war?
I don't know that much.
Wow.
Ooh.
You loading up?
Yeah.
You can hear it all the way over here.
The Zephyrs were tight.
Yeah, they are.
But I've never been clear as who he stayed with in California. I mean, he didn't just say, I want to go to California to play football. He played basketball in the Fairbanks High School. We got pictures of him playing basketball.
So, okay, so you guys went back to Alaska in 1940. Does that mean Clinton was born in Alaska?
Yeah, in March of 42.
So if you and your brothers, he was the only one born in Alaska then?
Yeah.
Everybody else was born in Utah?
Gordon was born in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle, okay.
Roger and I were born in Utah.
Okay. So,
I think they're...
then you guys stayed in Alaska then for about the next 5 years, left in 1945?
46.
When in 46, do you remember?
The end of May.
So May,
It was probably May 30th.
you know May 30th exactly the date?
Well,
Yeah. Kristen, do you want to take Scotty upstairs or do you want to keep home and talk? You might want some more bottles. Okay, so does May 30th, I mean, is that a specific
Well,
date that you remember? or-
No, well, I'm trying to think. We spent 9 days going from Fairbanks to,
Gainesville, Florida?
no, from Fairbanks to Salt Lake, traveling by bus and train for an overnight stretch in Canada. This time was by bus. But yet we arrived in Utah after my 11th birthday. So it must have been a little earlier in
Maybe you got to Salt Lake on May 30th. If you had your 11th birthday in Salt Lake. So it would have been the end of May.
It could be. I was always thinking the end of May, but I never occurred to me to stop.
Okay.
And then we were there for about a month, I guess. Dad, Grandpa went on to Florida. Find us a house. It's interesting. He had a choice of going to 2 different places in Texas or Florida.
What were the places? Stop, Holly. No.
Lubbock and College Station. One is Texas A&M and the other is Texas Tech.
Yeah. Or University of Florida.
Or University of
Hey,
Florida.
I'm on TV.
And for whatever reason, he chose Florida. So he went down there to find us a house. And on about July 2nd, Grandma took us 4 boys by train.
So you left around July 2nd?
Yeah, we were in Chicago on July 4th.
Holly, stop that, sweetie. Just a second. Okay, so July 2nd, 1946, you,
Grandma and 4 boys.
brothers, and Grandma took a train?
Left for Florida by train. We were in Chicago on July 4th. I guess we had probably the whole day layover there, because we had to change trains.
Okay.
And we arrived in Gainesville, Florida about 1:30 in the morning on July 6th.
Right to Gainesville, Florida at 1:30 a.m. on July 6th, right?
On or about.
Yeah. By train, right?
In those days, the train station was on Main Street until we got off this air-conditioned train and stepped out into a steamy Florida summer night.
Yeah.
Well, all of us were there, just like walking the steam. And we had a cab and we took to our house. And I remember we walked through and said, "Look, there are palm trees in the front yard. Oh, there's a fireplace." We just thought that was so cool.
Huh. Here, I'll take him for a minute. So you took a taxi from the train station to your house. And you thought it was cool because it had a fireplace and palm trees.
You're walking around it, at the door.
Yeah. That's that green house that I've seen that's just right off the
No,
campus.
it's the old one.
Oh, you lived in more than one house
Yeah,
then?
it's 147 Florida Court, right off the University of
147 Florida Court? I don't know if I've seen that.
Right, well, we've driven by it.
Oh, I've gone to the green one.
Yeah, no, this is our first house.
Oh, okay.
It was close to everything. We did not have a car. We were there for 2 years before we had a car. Of course, this was after World War II, and cars were... You didn't just go down to a dealer and say, "I want to buy this car." They were still switching over from making tanks and planes, army trucks to civilian tanks.
That's cool.
So, okay, in 1947 we'll buy a Studebaker. That was the car you couldn't tell which was front, which was the
Yeah.
back.
So you guys did buy a Studebaker?
No, we didn't.
Oh, you didn't buy it?
I don't know, they didn't have enough of them. We ended up getting a 1948 Chevrolet.
going just like you are. Don't even pay attention to that thing. $8,600 for the house at 147 Florida Court. That would have been 1946.
1946.
Wow.
And the
Probably like 140.
The grocery stores were on University Avenue just a few blocks away, so on Saturday we would all walk to the grocery stores. There were two of them right across the street from each other. Each one would have different specials or something. We'd go down, walk down, and walk back. No air conditioning in those days. No one had air conditioning. And you didn't even think twice about it. You didn't mind it. You didn't miss it. I mean, you didn't know what it was because no one had it.
Did you guys have ceiling fans and stuff like that?
But our house had very high ceilings.
So all the heat would go up higher.
It went up, yeah. It was that just what they did in the old South, with high ceilings on the ground level where you were walking and talking, sitting, living, was always comfortable.
That's interesting. I never thought about that because our house actually stays fairly cool in the summertime. Even if we haven't run the air conditioner for a while, it can get pretty hot outside. And I wonder if it is because of the higher ceilings. We've got 9-foot ceilings here. What if that brings the heat further off the ground? So as long as you stay low down here, it's more
The hot air rises.
Yeah.
But the house was always cool. And across the front was the big wide screen porch, the full width of the house. And there were two sofas out there and chairs. Not living rooms type sofas.
Yeah,
something
but
a little less.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You could go out there in a hurricane and watch the
Trees blow by.
So we had big oak. Besides the palm trees, we had oak trees. An oak tree in the front, a big oak tree in the back. And a garage out the back.
So did Howard come to live with you guys ever in Florida?
No, Howard stayed in California when he got out of the Air Force after World War II. He went on to Santa Clara University and went on to law school, became an attorney.
Yeah.
Just practiced there in California.
Huh. So then you basically grew up. So you basically, for all intents and purposes, moved to Florida when you were 11 years old.
I had just turned
11.
So I remember when we thought it was so wonderful we could go to the university swimming pool every morning and again every afternoon. But they provided the bathing suits.
Yeah.
You had to use the university issue. Of course, they were the size for college students whenever we were little kids. Roger, who was, what, 7, time or something, and they, go in big baggy swimsuits would cinch you up.
Yeah. That's funny. Don't go off the diving board.
Well, I don't remember that, but it was fun. And then I remember the first day of school, Grandpa took us down to Kirby Smith Elementary School. Of course, we walked. We went to register, and we had my report cards. I don't remember about Roger, but we had my report cards. Well, Roger had just been in the first grade. I was going into 6th grade, and Grandpa had my report cards there, and the principal just looked at them and said, "Oh, I can't believe it." She just oohed and awed about how wonderful my grades were.
But this would have been report cards coming from Alaska?
From Alaska.
Yeah.
And, anyway, I got placed, and our agreement was that I would meet Roger after school that first day, because here he was just a little kid starting 2nd grade, and we were afraid he'd get lost and whatever.
Yeah.
So school ended, and I went to where I was supposed to be. Roger, no Roger. I waited, and he never came. I worried and worried and worried, and finally I just gave up and walked on home. There he was. He just walked home on his own.
Huh.
And all that year, things would come down to family. We'd go to the circus. We'd go to the horse shows. In Gainesville, they had one of the 3 biggest horse shows in the whole United States, at least in the South. So they were big things. But one occasion, we decided we would go to the circus matinee after school. So in order to save money for that, I didn't eat lunch. I had money for the lunchroom. And I saved it. I just went off a block or 2, sat on the curb on the sidewalk until lunch period was over. And I was doing that for a few days. I had enough money, so we went to the circus with them.
Who was you?
Roger.
You and Roger did? Did he do the same thing, just save up his lunch money?
No, I just used my lunch money.
Oh, so you paid for both of you guys?
Both of us,
Oh.
Must not have been very expensive.
So just after school, you guys just took off and went to the circus. Did your parents know what was going on?
They had no idea. They said, well, why didn't you tell us? We would have taken you or given you money. You know, they were upset because we hadn't told them. But I thought it was a big adventure.
Yeah.
Another time we decided to go out to horse show or something after school, and we started walking. And I guess we didn't have enough money to go take the bus out. It was too far to walk. Take the bus and buy the tickets. So we started walking. The policeman stopped us, said, "Where are you going?" We told him where we were going. He said, "Well, I think you better go home." So he put us in his car and took us home. I guess Grandma and Grandpa, were upset because we hadn't told them. But, these were little kids having a big adventure, and it wouldn't have been near as much fun if they just said, "Come on, we're going to the horse show."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because we always went to the circus, the horse shows, or whatever. And we went to baseball games every summer.
How old do you think you would have been then when you went to the circus? That
I've
time?
been 11. It was all the rest of the 6th grade.
Oh, all in 6th grade. So your first year in school in Florida would have been 6th grade.
6th grade. I was in 2nd grade. The next year when I was in 7th grade, there was a combined junior and senior high school. It was just down the street from where we lived. So we went down there. I had been forced to learn to play the trumpet in Alaska. There was a little kid in 5th grade in Denver trying to play the trumpet with these high school kids, because it was combined elementary, junior, and senior high school. But the director of the band only took me in because Dad was sort of a friend and
Yeah.
I remember once the kid, and I don't know, maybe 4th, maybe 5th grade, the kindergarten teacher asked if I'd come down and play my trumpet for the kindergarten. So I went down and played Melody and F.
And the kids just probably sat there.
I'm not sure what they thought, but that was a painful experience.
Huh, that's funny.
And then later I worked during the summer here in Alaska. This little kid, 9, 10 years old, I worked with the band director, Mr. Jacobs, during the summer weeding his garden. His garden was about 16 miles long, 5 miles wide, and he was mean. I mean, he was really mean. An old German fellow was just like that. So I'd get on my hands and weed his carrots and radishes or whatever. Oh, how I hated it.
Did he pay you very, very much, or?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he did. Well, not very much, but he paid 25 cents every 3 days or something.
Oh, brother.
12-hour days.
Yeah. In the heat and snow.
In the heat and snow, yes.
All at the same time.
All at the same time.
So when did you
all the
actually...
roads were uphill.
Yeah, both ways. Now, what was the, what year did you actually start taking trumpet lessons then?
Well, it was probably maybe 4th, maybe 5th grade.
So it had been latter part of Alaska, your time in
Yeah,
Alaska.
yeah.
Okay.
And
But then you
I
played the
went-
trumpet from there all the way through college then, correct?
Well, through high school.
But I thought you played at University of Florida as well.
I was going to join the University of Florida band. In fact, I had passed my audition for that. But during the summer, I practiced so much I split my lip. So I practiced some high notes and all that, so I didn't even pursue it.
So you didn't ever actually play then in the Florida marching band?
Daddy,
I thought you did.
Gordon did.
Oh.
I just changed his diaper.
Well, thanks, Chrissy. That was nice of you.
Welcome.
Did you get the new diaper on good and tight? Good. Thanks. So, then you graduated from high school in Florida. I'm going to come back and ask you about all your adventures through your whole life in a minute. I want to get some main dates. So you graduated from high school in what year? Do you remember?
June 2nd, 1953.
Oh, really?
My 18th birthday.
So
And
you
in
were-
fact, next year we're having our 50th anniversary.
June 2nd, 1953, right?
53. My 18th birthday.
Graduated from high school.
And at graduation, I won the science award, or I was given the science award. And I can't believe I had the highest grades or whatever in science because
Wow, that's cool. Now I know where I get my science and technology mindset then. It was really inherent to you this whole time, you just didn't know it.
Well, that was the biggest surprise to me because my best friend wanted it. He worked so hard, and he really deserved it. I did not deserve it.
Huh.
Why they gave it to me, I will never know.
What was the name of your high school? Do you remember?
Gainesville High School.
What was Gainesville High School? So your elementary school then went basically from
It was
kindergarten.
Kirby Smith.
Kirby Smith.
Well, in 6th grade, yeah.
So you went right from 6th grade to the Gainesville High School, which was 7 to 12.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Correct.
Your elementary school there was Kirby Elementary?
Kirby Smith.
Oh, Kirby Smith.
Kirby Smith is a famous person in Southern history.
What was the name of your elementary school in Fairbanks?
Fairbanks.
Just Fairbanks Elementary?
Well, Fairbanks Public School. That was kindergarten through high school.
Oh, okay. So when you graduated in 1953, that's when you started attending the University of Florida. Okay, now wait a minute. What did your dad teach? He taught economics, right?
Economics and foreign trade.
Economics and foreign trade at both the University of Alaska in Fairbanks and the University of Florida.
Yeah, at the University of Alaska, he was head of the Department of Business Administration.
Wow.
But, you know, it was a relatively small college. Of course, most of that was during the World War II, when the student body was
That war.
somewhat depleted. And in Florida, he taught mostly graduate students.
Huh.
People working on their doctorates or master's degrees.
So you started your freshman year at University of Florida in 1953? And then, now here's where you're gonna, the timeline for me gets kind of confusing. How many years of college did you go to? Because I know from there you went on a mission, then you came back, went in the Army, back to school.
Yeah.
How did all that work? Or give me some dates there. Or
Okay,
sequence
I
of
went
events.
to two full years of college, and I guess a summer school between my freshman and sophomore years.
Okay.
I guess I went to summer school after my sophomore year too. And that's when one day I noticed, I started noticing the family can be kind of strange like. And then one day I came home from class or whatever, it was probably Roger or Clint that said, "You're going on a mission, you're going on a mission." And I said, "Oh no, I'm not." No. My experience with missionaries in Florida, the mission president had them wearing dark black suits, black ties, and hats, riding bicycles in hot summer weather. You know,
They look like Laurel and Hardy.
300 degrees and 400% humidity, and you know, the poor kids but the mission president said, "Well, Southern ministers look like that, and your ministers, no minister looks so stupid. I mean, just looks stupid."
That's funny.
That's not for me. And of course, there are all sorts of problems they have.
People tantalizing them and
Analyze them and that, and people calling. I remember one time some college students said, "Two men came into my house and started praying." So Grandpa had to go down and the police station explain who they were and what they were doing.
was he like the ward, was he the bishop
Well,
or something, or the ward mission leader? Or
Well,
branch
at one
president?
point he was on the high council down there, first when Florida State was organized, later became president of the Gainesville branch,
Wow.
and later he became its first bishop. That was long after I was gone.
So you came home from school and they were saying, "You're going on a mission, you're going on a mission."
And I said, "No, I'm not." And then I got a call, I guess, from the state president or something, for a mission interview. And in those days, you had to be interviewed by a general authority, too. So I was interviewed. I went to Jacksonville. And what do I know about this? I went to Jacksonville,
This would have been 1955?
55. Probably early summer. And was interviewed by the state president. I can't remember that. And then by Henry D. Moyle, who was a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He was in Florida on business a lot because of the Florida ranches which the church had bought down there. And he was sort of in charge of that. and he called himself the patron saint of Florida State. So he interviewed me.
But he was an apostle at the time when he
Yeah, he
interviewed
was.
you, right?
Yeah, he was an apostle.
Wow.
And the only thing I remember about the interview was he asked if I had ever read the Book of Mormon. I said no. What's the Book of Mormon? Yeah, I was just kidding. I said no, I hadn't. He said, well, don't you think you ought to read it if you're going on a mission? I said, yeah, I guess so. So that was the thing. I read the Book of Mormon that summer. And then the next thing.
So you would have been right around age 21 then? Or no, 20. Yeah, okay.
That's how old you had to be in those days.
Okay.
So one day I came home from, I guess it was class or something, and the mail was there, and I said, here's a letter, 47 East South Temple, or whatever that street is.
Church headquarters address.
Those big, big, welcome. Family gathered around. You're hereby called to be a missionary and serve in the Uruguayan mission. The grandma said she had known that's exactly where I was going to go.
She knew Uruguay then?
Well,
What I mean is
she just had a feeling that's where it would be.
Yeah.
I don't know why, except there was another guy from Florida State, the first missionary from Florida State, who had gone down there.
Huh.
Buddy Murray, who was also from the University of Florida.
Interesting.
But when I got down there, I found people who had his Ark of the Faith card.
Is
His
that?
name on it. So,
Interesting. So when do you remember what month in 1955 you got your mission call then?
no, it probably would have been late summer because I left there, and I remember Gordon was had graduated from college, and he was in the Air Force then. But he took me to a naval PX or BX or whatever in Jacksonville to buy luggage and camera. Yeah. I left home in September of '55. I entered the mission home in October, I guess it was October 5th. In those days, the mission home was at a place in Salt Lake up near the Capitol.
So did you leave by train or?
Train.
Train?
And again, I left by train in the middle of the night.
So that was the mission home in Salt Lake, right?
Yeah. And I was there for I don't know how long, 10 days or whatever. They told
You
us.
said it was October 5th when you went to the mission home?
I think it was the 5th. And then October 6th we went to the temple.
That's when you got your endowments? Huh, kind of interesting.
There was a huge, huge group of missionaries. I had gone out early so I could go to a general conference and visit some of my relatives. So Eileen, my cousin Eileen, would pick me up at
Oh,
the train
okay.
station.
Did they set you apart for your mission in Florida then?
No, in Salt Lake.
Oh, in Salt Lake after you got to
General
the mission?
Doherty said that too.
Okay. Who actually set you apart? Do you remember?
L. Christiansen, who was an assistant at the Quorum of the 12.
Okay.
Anyway, I was still ward clerk. I did ward clerk in Gainesville branch, so I was still officially ward clerk. They didn't release me just so I could go to general conference as a, get in the reserved seat and such.
Oh, really?
As an official
Delegate or whatever.
delegate.
Dignitary.
Yeah, I was a
Dignitary.
very dignified dignitary.
Huh, that's cool. So then how long were you actually, when did you leave the MTC or the mission home?
Well, while we were in the mission home, we got word that the ship sailing would be delayed several days. So it was, I think, about a 2-week period. We were supposed to leave, I don't know, they finally told us we would sail from New York on, I think it was October, either the 30th or 31st, something like that. So after we got through with the mission home, they said you go back to your own homes.
So how long were you actually in the mission home then for?
Maybe it's a week, maybe 10
Oh,
days,
just
no more than that.
just a short period of time.
Short period. There was no language training
Yeah.
at all. So So this one kid from Los Angeles, one elder, one missionary from Los Angeles invited me to go down there with him. But they don't. Your family doesn't know me, and I don't know them. It'd be awkward, but I appreciated the offer. I said, well, I've got family here in Utah, so I went to stay with relatives, Uncle Walt.
For a couple weeks then, so.
Well, for a few days. I guess I went out to 12 part of the time. And then Uncle Walt, I had a trunk and 2 big suitcases on carry-on bag, because you had to go. Missions were for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And so by the time, there were 13 of us going to South America, so we traveled by train to Chicago. We spent.
You all left Salt Lake together then,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
On the train.
When did you leave? Do you remember the date that you left?
I don't remember.
Okay, so it had been probably late-ish October then.
Well, yeah. Well, we went to Chicago. I know we were in Chicago on a Sunday. We looked at a calendar to find out. Late Sunday. We were in Chicago all day Sunday. Someone from the church met us there. I don't know who it was, the bishop, the state president, or someone. And he told us just to do the best we could to, kill time during the day. So we went to a museum, we went to a Cinerama movie, and just basically wandered around. And that night we took the next train to New York City, which actually went to Buffalo, and someone else met us there and took us on a tour up to Niagara Falls.
Wow.
But it was cold, it was so foggy. There's a waterfall over there. Wish we could see it.
Yeah.
And then we took the train on down to Hoboken, New York, to New Jersey. And had to wait there several hours until the first ferry started operating. So we take the ferry over to Manhattan. Maybe it was something.
You get to the wharf there, or to the piers?
Yeah. We ended up at a train station.
Hold on a sec.
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay, so when last we left off, you were just getting to the pier in Manhattan to go on your mission. That would have been, you said October 30th then? 1950?
No, it's probably the 29th or thereabouts. It's hard to remember the exact dates. I've got them all written down in my missionary journal.
Okay.
But my luggage, my suitcases were not there. In my trunk, something was missing.
Now, were you guys staying in hotels in New York during this time?
The church had made a reservation for us in a hotel up on 7th Avenue in New York, just a 5-minute walk from Central Park. It had a living room and 3 bedrooms. It was a suite.
Do you remember the name of the hotel?
Oh shoot. I can't think of it offhand, but it's still there. But it cost the outrageous sum of $25 a day.
Per person or
no?
Oh, really?
$25 for this 3-bedroom suite.
Nowadays, that'd be like $3,000
Yeah, it would.
Well, probably about $500 a night.
But anyway, later on, we were starting to do a little bit of sightseeing. I got a message that my luggage had finally arrived. But the other elders did not want to go down with me to pick it up, so they went off and did something, and I had to go down and take a cab by myself down to the railroad station to retrieve the rest of my...
So it hadn't made it on the train with you this whole time, and you've been traveling without it, or?
I don't know. Somehow it just did not make one of the connections or catch up with us. So I went down to get that and went back to the hotel. Of course, no one was there, so I just kind of walked around Manhattan myself and into Central Park, and I saw the skating rink and a few things like that. But anyway, we all got together. We were supposed to sail at midnight on I guess it was October 30th or 31st. So it was just like you see in the movies, balloons and streamers and band playing on deck, people standing there, and the crew was handing out refreshments. It was just wonderful. Oh, so
Do you remember the name of the ship? Was it a big ocean
the
liner?
SS Argentina, yeah. Big
The SS Argentina.
SS Argentina. The more McCormick lines. No.
Top notch at the time or whatever.
Top notch at the time. The SS Argentina. But because it was late in sailing, we were supposed to go to Barbados, to Trinidad, and then on to Brazil now, but we had to skip Trinidad. But anyway, that first night it was wonderful. So we sailed out and waved goodbye to the Statue of Liberty into Manhattan with the glowing skyline, all that. It was just the beginning of a wonderful adventure. Well, there were 4 of us in a stateroom together, so it was not like the luxury liners that you see where it's a suite. I mean, it was Spartan quarters. Well, we went to bed feeling wonderful. The next morning we woke up seasick as dogs. And you're supposed to go to the dining room and get your table reservations and all that. We could not even think of breakfast or anything like that. By noon we were...
Did y'all have your own cabins, or were y'all sharing a cabin
No,
or stateroom?
four of us in a cabin, stateroom.
Yeah,
together.
okay. Now wait, you said there was 4 to a room, but there was 13 of you traveling total.
I think it was 13.
Okay.
Maybe it was 5 in one room or something.
Yeah, okay.
But it was a group.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 14 because there were, I think, 8 going to Uruguay and 6 to Argentina.
Okay.
No, and there were 4 to Argentina, 2 to Brazil or something. Anyway.
Okay.
So, but after that we went to, so 4 of us went to get a table assigned to us for the whole trip. And there were 2 Brazilian girls. No, they were Argentines, I guess. No, Brazilian, whatever. From South America, cute young ladies assigned to our table too. And of course, eating there, every menu, every meal had a fancy printed menu. It was just, the food was unreal. I mean, it was just so fantastic. So you'd eat lunch and you'd go out on deck to study, and I had to bought a couple of Spanish books to study and learn a little bit of Spanish, because I found out I was studying Mexican Spanish.
Yeah.
And not Uruguayan Spanish. But
Did
anyway,
you guys call it Castellano in Uruguay, or did you call it
Castellano?
Castellano? See, they don't say that in Mexico. They say Español in Mexico, but everywhere else in South America.
But they would say Castellano in Mexico.
Do they? Because most Mexicans I've spoken with don't seem to know what Castellano is, or Castellano. We said Castellano in Peru. And you go to Eastern South America and they say Castellano, like you said. Oh, well,
Argentina, Uruguay mostly.
Yeah.
In Paraguay, we do Castellano.
Mm-hmm. Same in Peru.
But, you get through lunch and go out on deck, they'd be out chasing you around to feed you some more, and then you'd go and dress with coat and tie for dinner.
I was going to ask, during the days on the ship, did you have to wear your ties and name tags and all that
No,
kind
we
of
wore
stuff?
casual clothes.
Really? Okay.
They didn't have name tags in those days.
Oh.
So we wore casual clothes, but there was a swimming pool there. We couldn't swim. There was all sorts of other things going on, skeet shooting and all that. They had
That's
movies
cool.
in the afternoon, a library, and from that point of view, it was just like you see in the movies on the luxury liners. It was a very luxurious ship. And then you'd go in and you dress for dinner. You eat your dinner, then you'd go up and maybe there'd be a floor show, singers and dancers.
So let me ask you, was this more of a passenger liner or
Oh,
more of a
yes.
cruise type ship? In other words,
They didn't have cruise ships in those days.
okay.
They were all passengers.
So some people were on the ship going from one place to another. Others were going on a cruise, essentially.
No one flew in those days. I mean,
Yeah.
you just didn't. I mean,
But I mean, some people were taking the ship round trip, basically. They're eventually coming home back to the same spot,
Yeah,
whereas other people were using it to
people were
be
going
transported between
home.
locations.
People were going. It was traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a cruise, but it was like a cruise ship. I mean, entertainment.
En route.
And,
Yeah.
And that, and every meal was just unbelievable. And then at 10 o'clock, there, in the evening after dinner, there'd be floor shows, entertainment, more movies, anything. At 10 o'clock, there was a midnight snack. They'd force you to eat again. Sandwiches this thick and everything. And I mean, all you did was eat. The food was wonderful. You go to bed and get up for breakfast the next morning. Breakfast at 9. lunch at 1, dinner about 7. And you try and study your Spanish, maybe a book that the church had that had basics of 7 missionary discussions.
So how many days were you guys on the ship for total?
We are, well,
Well, you did go to Barbados?
we went to Barbados and spent a day. We went on down to Bahia, Brazil, San Salvador, what they call Bahia, and they wrote a song called Bahia.
Huh.
It was a big hit in those days. Spent a day there. We went on to Santos and took I guess it was a bus into Sao Paulo. Someone from the church had met us at the boat to take us to these different places, or at least in Brazil. I guess in Bahia we were on our own, but in Santos there were 2 missionaries getting off there from Sao Paulo.
So the ship actually docked in several different ports then in Brazil.
Yeah.
And which port did you actually end up getting off on, finally?
Montevideo.
Really? I thought you guys ended up getting off in Brazil and then driving in a bus or something like that to Uruguay.
Spent a day there, had dinner with some missionaries in their pension.
Okay, so did you stop in...
And then we went down to
So
Rio.
you wouldn't have stopped in Argentina then?
No.
En route,
No.
okay.
Sao Paulo, and then a day in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, so we were just talking about...
Yeah, we spent a day in Rio de Janeiro, took a tour, all the important things there, and back on the boat. First we crossed the equator, they made a big thing. We arrived in Montevideo on...
Hold on, get 1 second. So we're still in Rio de Janeiro.
After Rio de Janeiro, we kept going. Every day they'd have a newspaper showing you the progress, give you weather reports, tell you what was going on in the world. When we crossed the equator, they had King Neptune's court, a big fancy
Thing on the ship. Rio is actually, is it north of the equator still? Rio should be south of the equator.
South of the equator.
Okay.
You know, some of these things I'm saying you're not in exact.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. I understand.
It was just...
Did you guys go to Sao Paulo as well?
Sao Paulo, yeah.
Did you have to drive inland to get to Sao Paulo though?
Well, the boats, as I said, the ship stopped at Santos, which is a seaport. Then you take a train, or a bus, I guess it was, through the mountains to Sao Paulo.
So did it actually stop at a port in Rio, or did it stop in Santos and you went to Rio from there and then back?
No, we
over?
stopped in Santos to go to Sao Paulo, and back to the boat in Santos, and we got on it and sailed on down to Rio.
Okay.
So we finally arrived in Montevideo on November 14th, 1955.
You arrived in Montevideo on November 14th.
November 14th. That's when my mission started. I had left home about, I think it was the 20th of September. So I'd been gone from home almost 2 months before my mission even began, my 2.5 years.
Wow. And that's when the church started counting your 2.5 years then?
Yeah, when we arrived.
Oh my gosh. So that's well over 2.5 years that you're gone then.
Yeah,
Total time.
33 months.
Wow.
But there were some sharp missionaries there, the president's assistants, to meet us at the boat. There was a man there to take our luggage. We didn't even have to go through customs. They just loaded all our luggage into a car, and off we went to the mission home. Montevideo was a beautiful city. Driving, and we stopped at the mission home in a gorgeous part of the city. Beautiful parks, plazas. The weather was beautiful. We thought, this is so nice. Because in Brazil, our perception was, oh, we could not spend 2.5 years in this. You know, we saw the pension. We rode one of those buses with missionaries where you hang on for dear life on the outside, try and hang on. You know,
Well, people with their chickens are riding on the inside and on the roof.
Well, that came later.
That was the way it was in Peru.
That was the inland.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know what the buses are like.
Oh
You
yeah,
just-
you hang on
you
for dear
literally,
life.
you literally hang on.
You're lucky if you get two hands.
And
to
some
use.
guy climbs along on the running board to take your ticket or take your money, and then he climbs over you for the next person.
Yeah.
That was an adventure. And then going in and eating the greasy beans and rice and
Yep.
seeing their little room, their cubby hole over there. Oh no. Anyway, we got to Montevideo. The mission home was there. They took us. We were going to go to the Deseret Capilla, the chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Deseret Ranch. A beautiful, beautiful new chapel. A fancy basketball court outdoors. A big gym. Beautiful facilities. We spent the night there. It happened to be a mission party or activity of some sort there. So all these beautiful young girls, all the missionaries, and oh, this is going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it's gonna be a party the whole time.
Well, and my companion.
How many of you actually went to Uruguay then? Went on to Uruguay.
It was either 6 or 8.
Okay.
I've got all their names all that written down. It's been so long now. So
Yeah.
I tend to be a little bit forgetful. But we bedded down there in this chapel, and my companion had come in from the town, and he and I were going to a town called Rivera, and these people said, Rivera, oh, that's on the frontier. Frontier? That sounded like something from out of Californian Indian days. But, okay. So about 1 in the morning, he woke me up and said, we got to go.
Is that still that first day
Yeah,
in
first
Montevideo?
day, yeah. Oh, they'd taken us out, some other missionaries had taken us out to Morini's restaurant to eat. You know, it was a steakhouse. The steaks were like this big.
They call them beefsteak. Do you remember?
Beefsteak. Yeah, and there were French fries with it, and probably
Yeah.
salad of some sort.
Yeah.
Lettuce choked up.
Very classic Latin American,
But
South
that's-
American
Yeah, that
dish.
was our introduction to Uruguayan food. Anyway, my companion, we had a cab, took us down to the bus station. Here, a big modern, like Greyhound style bus. We got on it, but there were other people there dressed in typical gaucho type outfits. So that was picturesque. But we drove through the big wide boulevards of Montevideo, flashing neon signs on it. Well, this is really going to be nice. This is really a modern country. Well, I fell asleep. When I woke up, we were out in the middle of
Timbuktu. Yeah, La Pampas. Las
Las
Pampas.
Pampas. And ostriches out there running around. And then you started to see really the people that you were riding with. And just typical country people. What they'd been doing in the city, I don't know, but they were dressed, typical gaucho
Yeah.
country garb. We stopped at a town called Durazno, and my companion, Elder Peterson, said, we have missionaries here in a branch. We got off,
Durazno, that's like a fruit. Isn't that like strawberry or peach? Or peach,
Peach.
yeah.
It means peach. That was the town.
Fresa is
And,
strawberry, I think.
Going to the bathroom, indoor plumbing. No, but there's kind of a wooden wall over there. It's where you're partially screened. You went and did whatever business you had to do.
Did you have to just aim in the hole? Whether
Well,
you were...
Luckily, I didn't need to use a hole.
Use the...
It just aimed. What are we on to the
The
next
whole
town.
of the world.
Next town, Tacuarembó. We got missionaries here. There's another branch. It was even more primitive. We really didn't get into the main part of town. We just stopped at some of the places
Yeah.
where people could get off. And
Yeah.
It wasn't a fancy bus station.
I know what you're talking about.
Then we went on. I thought,
It's like a country bus stop.
And more just broad country. Nothing but nothing.
Was it forested or...
It was
It's kind of more like the
just
plains of America.
Bushes here and there, and there were a lot of ostriches running around out there.
Yeah.
Well, this is really.
I'm in Australia.
No kangaroos, but ostriches, and a lot of cattle. Oh, a lot
Yeah.
of cattle. And you see the gauchos out there, and
They would be riding horses most likely, right?
finally we came to Rivera. It started out just country, old-fashioned buildings, dry and desolate. Then the streets were bricked. It was a little bit better. Houses and buildings were a little bit nicer. And finally, you got into where the streets were paved. There were nice stores. You could tell neon signs, and it was really nice. And we finally stopped downtown. And here, two bright, smiling young elders were there with straw hats to greet us. And the place, the locale, as they called it, where we lived, was just a block or so away. But we got someone to to
Carry the luggage.
take the luggage over for us.
How many were on the bus with you then, going out to there?
Well, there was just my companion and me.
Was it the same companion you had all the way back from Salt Lake?
No,
or
no.
This was
No,
just somebody else maybe
this,
being
this was the guy
transferred?
who'd been in the, yeah.
He had been in the mission for a while,
for-
but just
for-
being
yeah,
transferred.
For a
to
year,
there.
and he was just being transferred.
Okay.
So, but these two missionaries there were bright, smiling, sharp young elders. So we went to a call, and those days, the church just rented a house, and if there was a room big enough to hold meetings in, and the missionaries lived in, another room somewhere. Well, for us, the somewhere else was outside and downstairs in the basement, and so we had some cots down there and just set up.
Do you guys have any like dressers or desks or anything like that, or do you have to live out of your suitcases?
A combination.
Yeah.
There must have been a dresser or something down there, but low ceilings and all. And but the church meetings were held in what had been just a bedroom. They had a couple of benches in here.
How many hours was the ride from Montevideo to Rivera then? Do you remember?
Probably, it was about 300 miles, so it was a good 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
We left Montevideo about 2 or 3 in the morning, something like that. It was late afternoon when we got there.
Was it any of it? Was it all paved, pretty much road as far as you know, or were you out on dirt roads at times?
I think part of the road was probably dirt.
Let me in.
Huh.
It was paved, I remember, for quite a while until I fell asleep.
Yeah.
After that,
I need to take a
I
shower.
think it was mostly dirt.
Because in some of the areas I'd ride in Peru, the road would always be paved almost the whole way where the buses would go. But every once in a while you'd get into an area where the road was all just ruined, basically. It was as good as dirt, basically.
Well, the reason I say that is because I remember going into Rivera. It was old edition, I think dirt road, then brick road, then regular cement road.
Huh.
But I loved Rivera. It was right on the border of Brazil. So half the city, Livramento, was in Brazil. And you'd walk back and forth. And
Did you have to go through customs or anything like that, or was it?
Yeah. Well, I think they had a customs course there, but you just wave you through.
Yeah.
Or
So how long were you in
there
Rivera?
by cashew nuts, man. I was in Rivera for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
But in the city, there was by the border, there was a fountain. A very fancy, like these dancing waters. A big, huge fountain that does all sorts of changing its displays, single shoots, and then, I mean, it was just as fancy as anything you'd see in Las Vegas or anywhere else. This huge, huge fountain.
Hold on just one second. With the fountain.
Well, the fountain, it was just beautiful, and we would go over to Livramento to eat. There's some modern high-rise
What was
buildings.
Livramento?
That's the city on the Brazilian side.
Oh, okay.
And we go shopping there. I bought, inlaid wood items, and cans of cashews, things like that that were Brazilian that you didn't get in Uruguay.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. We went tracking every day. First we had to go out and buy straw hats during the crowd, and I think we still had to wear jackets every day. I don't remember that as being too uncomfortable. We'd go tracking the hills around town, a lot of dirt streets and all that. We had a few contacts. Miss Livramento, or Miss Rivera, was a new convert to the church.
Oh, is that right?
We finally realized that our one room for church meetings was too small, so we moved the branch meetings downstairs where we lived. We just moved our cots over in the corner and got some benches and chairs and had meetings down there in the basement.
Huh.
Now this was in the middle.
Was it because the upstairs just had more smaller rooms? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Whereas the basement was big open.
It was wide open. But the only bathroom was upstairs.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no kitchen. We had a maid to come and cook for us. There's no way we could have survived, on cooking because there are no grocery stores.
Yeah. Same thing with Peru. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we ran into. We paid somebody to cook our breakfast and dinner for us, and the members gave us lunch every day.
Well, a couple of weeks later was Thanksgiving time, so we had to have a turkey. So we found a place that sold turkey. So the man there sold us the turkey, and when he delivered it, it was still alive. So we kept it in our backyard. We had a big wall around it. What are we going to do? We can't kill this turkey. We finally convinced him or paid him to come and kill the turkey and pull the feathers off of that. And said, well, we don't have an oven. We can't roast the turkey. And the maid had no experience in fixing turkeys. And all the missionaries from the district, from Artigas and Tacuarembó, and the four of us there in Rivera were coming to have a district meeting and to have Thanksgiving here. So the maid finally cut the turkey up and boiled it. So we had boiled pieces of turkey for Thanksgiving. I guess rice to go with it.
All right.
It's things like that you remember so vividly.
Yeah.
Trying to cook and shower was a typical thing. You line a little flame. You're supposed to cause the water comes to a pipe to
Warm up.
Warm up a little bit, at least take the chill off. You stood there in your bathroom, on the bathroom floor, and take your shower.
Did you actually have like a shower stall, or was it just a
No.
like a pipe?
It's just a pipe in the middle of it.
Did you ever have an actual shower head on any of them, or?
We probably had some.
Yeah. For me, it was about half the time. Half the time I had a shower head, and half the time it was just a pipe. It just was one beam of water coming out. But, huh.
Well, in early February we were going back. I think it was early December anyway. A short time later, we went back to Montevideo for a district conference. We flew there. There's an airport there.
From Rivera to Montevideo?
Yeah. And I remember very vividly the steward coming along and saying something. All I can say is, no hablo español. And he said, Elder, he's speaking to you in English.
Oh, really?
He says, no, what I wanted to drink.
Oh, that's funny.
That was embarrassing. I realized where I was going to go. We went and had the mission conference. I saw one of the people I'd been with on the boat. We compared notes. And we said, gee, if the next 2.5 years go as fast as these few weeks have done, boy, we'll be home in no time. Then we went back to the regular missionary work. In February, I was transferred down to La Floresta in Montevideo. One of the reasons I found out is because my new companion was quite a musician. And they were trying to organize a mission. They had a mission chorus. They were going to organize a mission orchestra as well. They found out that I could play trumpet. Played, P-L-A-Y-E-D, past tense. But they had a trumpet there, so I'm surprisingly good. So I was able to play until we had a mission orchestra. We played trumpet in it. There was only 5 or 6 people, I guess. And that was fun. And so for mission dances and affairs and all, we had the mission chorus, the mission orchestra. So that was fun. And La Floresta was a very ritzy part of Montevideo. A huge building that we lived in.
Was it like an apartment building?
No, it was a house. I mean, it was a private house. Right on the sidewalk. We had a maid who did all our cooking. Her son came to help out. And there were 6 missionaries there. There was maybe a bathroom and a half. 2 of the missionaries.
Okay. So you were Paraguay?
So I was president of the Moroni branch. And since one of the 3 branches there. Beautiful mansion and a real nice part there, just a block or so from the American Embassy.
Oh, really? Wow.
We just had a wonderful time there. While we were there, one to the Chaco in Brazil, where we flew out to some place in the middle of nowhere. Some guy had invited us. I can't remember why or how. But we got a driver and he took us to his house. The driver had a gun, because there were rustlers there.
Yeah. Bandits.
And Grandpa had always said that he was interested in buying a ranch down South Dakota. Because he's always crazy about horses and cattle.
Yeah, I remember that.
Raised fantastic cattle down there. And of course, Argentina
In the leather industry.
and leather and all that. And so I thought, well, that's a pretty good chance. But it was kind of scary. So we went there.
This is in Brazil,
In
though?
Brazil.
Okay.
The Chaco, that was still kind of a wild area. There were bandits there.
Yeah.
People that were stealing land, squatters and all that.
Yeah. It was the American West, but of
The American
Brazil.
Yeah, same. And then on our second trip, we went to go to Iguazu Falls.
Oh, yeah.
We landed in Brazil, but we drove over to the Argentine side where we stayed. And you remember that old building.
Yeah, it was kind of
That
reddish, I
was
think. The old hotel. Yeah, it's still there.
So we were very lucky, to get to see and do some sights, the wonderful things that missionaries never get to do anymore. But we worked hard too. Of course, it was very Catholic, but there was the Paraguayans, a lot of them, were Indians, and they had a lot of beliefs that sort of mixed superstition and Catholicism and all this.
Yeah.
Sort of mumbo jumbo. There was a big Catholic church in the area that we trekked in. It was very old, red brick. And we go there, sometimes talk to the priest and all, but people would tell us that, they say, well, if we do something wrong, we go to the priest. But it's faster if we go to San Miguel, still forgive us. That's for the priest. The San Miguel was their patron saint. But there was a little difference in there.
Huh.
Okay. I was there 7 months.
7 months of Asunción.
There were revolutions going on, or near revolutions. More than once we heard gunshots being fired, and times we'd have to get off the train, the trolley. We were riding home from downtown. Walk, because they just get out on the street.
So you have gone to Asunción then, or sometime in the summer of 1956. It may have left in January or February of 1957.
It was August.
You went there in August of 56? So you're going to come home March, or come back to Uruguay, or go to your next area in March of 57?
My next area was Minas, Uruguay. So of course I flew from Asunción to Montevideo, down to the bus station, and then took a bus out to Minas. Minas was in Hill Country.
How many hours drive was that? Ride in the bus?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I love Minas. We had one vestibular there. It was a delightful city. The only place in Uruguay where you could get peanut butter. And then you had to order special. Because one of this little cafeteria downtown had gone to the States and found out what the peanut butter was. We bought a machine to crush peanuts. So we would go and order peanut butter. The mission president called up and said he had to come to on visit and observe some peanut butter.
Yep.
So the peanut butter was, we'd order it 2 days in advance, so we'd come in a box. So we'd have a box, 2 for him, 1 for us.
And the Americans loved it, and the South Americans hated it. It was the same way in Peru.
We loved it. We just loved it. We had great research success there. I was there, it was only 5 months. And when I left, we had, I think, about 12 people ready for baptism, and we were going to, the arrangements to go into Montevideo, the Democrat Chapel, to do all the baptisms. So they could see the church, that it was a
Progressive.
progressive and all that. But I got transferred just a week before we were going to do that.
Oh, really?
We were already made the arrangements. I felt so bad.
Did you ever get to baptize anybody then in Minas? You know?
I don't remember.
That's tough.
I think we saw people. The husband, he's a non-member, but not a good member family.
A lot of good situations.
Really good people. We felt so good about them. It was good. I think it was 12, but it was maybe fewer. It was a big number.
Huh.
So then I went to Santa Lucia. Didn't travel alone. Didn't want to there by bus. And then the bus to Santa Lucia. Santa Lucia.
How far was Santa Lucia?
It was only a couple of hours by train from
Montevideo.
Montevideo.
Is this the same Santa Lucia that you hear in the song?
No, that's Santa Lucia.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought of that.
It is. But finally see a place. It was an old city, not real progressive or anything. People would go to Montevideo if they wanted to do any serious shopping or anything, so it didn't have much to do. It had a driving branch at one time in a town half an hour down the railroad track called Canelones. It also had a driving branch, but the people could not get along with each other, and they were fighting all this. A lot of problems. Most members were the disfellowshipped that were excommunicated. So when I got there, they had called a local lady to be the relief society clerk. And that was the only member who was able to hold the position. And our job was basically to work with members, try to get them back. So I ended up being there 9 months.
9 months. Wow.
Well, we had 3 baptisms. They hadn't had baptisms there for years, so we had 3 baptisms. Good people, good active people. And the mission president said we were making such wonderful progress, would I be willing to stay there and spread my mission, spread my missionary. So no missionary, very fun to spend 9 months.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Wow.
But I had 3 companions there.
Yeah.
But we had, again, a nice building. We got people coming out.
Was it a church-built building, or was it a building they had bought? Yeah, okay.
The only chapels at the time were the 2 in Montevideo, and they dedicated one out to a place called 33, 33.
Yeah.
And they were going to build one in a little town, I can't remember the name of it, but it was, they didn't even have running water in the town. I think they dug a well for the chapel there. And I think there was the only place in town that had running water.
Wow.
And it was really, the elders out there literally ate ostrich eggs.
So were you actually the branch president?
I was branch president on this year.
Wow.
For 9 months. When I got there, the missionaries had to do everything. So we taught primary, we taught relief society, we gave all the talks in sacrament meeting, taught the lessons in Sunday school, we did everything. And finally we got around to where we could call someone to work in primary, and start having give some talks.
Yeah, start.
In sacrament meeting.
Yeah, kind of get, yeah.
People started coming back to church. We had some really good members there, but it sort of given up, but they were stalwarts. So they started coming back to church.
Kind of got re-energized, basically.
Re-energized, and started building.
That's cool. So then...
So in May, about May 12th, I went into the mission home.
This would have been 1958.
And while I was there was a conference out in Punta del Este, which is the big resort on the coast, the big beach resort town. And so, the mission president asked if I'd like to ride out here. I said, sure. And the people from Minas were coming there too, because it was in that same district. It was fun seeing them and seeing all their shared companions. They called on me to talk in conference. And that was really hard.
Was it just a missionary conference, or was it a state conference?
It was like a state conference.
District conference.
District conference.
For the members.
For the members, missionaries that were there. They rented some of the
yeah.
And we spent the night there. We went out Saturday and we slept on the floor somewhere. Hotel, Clipchamp, or whatever. There was time to go, and the missionaries that came down with, some of them had gone home early. One of them had gone up to Peru to help open missions there. So all of us were going different routes, and I had permission to do any touring I wanted to do. So Braniff Airlines had arranged my itinerary for me. Mom and Dad sent me my, in fact, they sent me $100 every month, which was far more than I needed. And I was known as the richest missionary in the whole mission. So I loaned money to other elders who were
More
short,
destitute or whatever.
more destitute and all that. So I was very lucky.
You want to know something ironic? When you finished your mission then, Peru was just being opened, you left on Brana. When I left on my mission to Peru, I left on Brana.
Did you?
Yeah, I took Brana from Washington, D.C. to Dallas to Phoenix. And then, we drove up to Salt Lake, and then when I actually flew to Peru, we actually flew on Air Argentina, Delta and Air Argentina, but I actually officially left on my mission on Brana. So you came home on Brana, and I left home on. You went home on Brana, and I left home on Brana. Isn't that weird? Kind of ironic.
Yeah.
29 years later.
So in the middle of the night, I got up. I had a cab waiting for me, so I just slipped out of the mission home and headed for the airport. Two of the girls, members from La Floresta, came to the airport to see me off.
That was May 12th? Did you left?
It would have been I think it was May 14th again. Or maybe, I don't know, whatever it was the day. Maybe it was May 12th.
Okay.
But it was anyway 30 months to the day after I arrived. But these two girls, they must have gotten up at midnight, because my plane left like 5 in the morning, 6 or something like that. And they took the bus, they had to ride buses and change and all the way out to the airport, it must have been 50 miles from where they lived. And they were there to see me off. And that was very kind.
That's cool.
I give them, one of them, an extra suitcase. She had a terrible crush on me, I was aware of that. And she used to keep writing to me after I got home, but I think I wrote to her once very politely.
Yeah.
Encouraged her. So I just stopped answering her letters. She was a nice little girl.
If you would have married her, I would have been Diego instead of Debbie.
She was, I've got souvenirs still from those girls from
Half of my treasures from Peru were from friends and members and chicas, flacas.
From our attic, I've got boxes of things like that.
Yeah.
But from there, from Montevideo, I flew to Buenos Aires, spent a day or two, then I went to Chile.
You flew to Buenos Aires?
All this is kind of by phone.
Yeah.
Flew to Santiago for a day or two, back to Buenos Aires.
By Mendoza?
Up to Asuncion, which was a mistake.
Oh, going back.
You can't go back in. I tried to visit some of your friends and all, and I've been gone so long, and they were very nice and cordial and everything, but it's just...
Distance had taken it.
Yeah, I should have
Distance of time.
But I have loved Asuncion. I've been so happy there. And it's just sort of sad to feel that it's different now. But then I went out to La Paz, Bolivia.
From Asuncion?
Or maybe I got back to DA. Again, this is something hard to remember. But landed in La Paz an afternoon. The airport is
13,000 feet.
high. It's on a fly too high, but the city's built like on the side of a bowl.
Yeah.
And down the front of it. Well, I went into my hotel, checked in, thought, well, I'll just lie down for a while and rest, and then go out for dinner. When I woke up, I was sick. The altitude. You know what that's like.
Oh yeah, headache, nauseated,
So I just
muscle aches,
stayed
everything.
in bed. The next day I was able to get up, but walking around La Paz was so hard because the streets were like this. I literally have a hard time walking up the street.
Not to mention the altitude making it harder.
The altitude,
Oh yeah.
But I see, American brands in some of the store windows and things. Oh, this is wonderful. You could get Colgate toothpaste wherever you went in South America.
Yeah, we could get Colgate in Peru too.
So they had a factory in Montevideo, BA or somewhere.
I mean, that's where ours came from.
A few things like that. But there are other American brands, Campbell Soup or whatever. I don't know. But I was glad to leave La Paz, but I took a train from there. I think it's a place called Puno.
Puno, Peru.
Well, I was unsure of like Titicaca.
Yeah, it's in Peru.
Well, I sailed
Puno.
across. I thought it was in Bolivia.
Well, there's a Puno, Peru.
Maybe Puno is where
It's a
you
very
get off.
high elevation.
Okay, Puno must have been where you get off. But it was an overnight steamship on, 2 miles up in the air, 3 miles up in the air.
Oh, across Lake Titicaca. So you took a train from La Paz to the coast of Lake Titicaca, then took a ship across Lake Titicaca
It was an overnight trip
to Puno.
to Puno. And then I got on the train there to go to Cusco. Well, the train stopped along the way for whatever reason. I got out to, and people were there, selling their wares. And I spotted one of the missionaries, Richard Reed, that I'd come down with. And he was heading home too, and we just happened to be in Cusco, or heading for Cusco at the same time. So we had different seats on the train. When we got there to Cusco, we got a hotel room together. We arranged to stay together. I guess we already had reservations at the same hotel. And so we toured Machu Picchu together. Then he was going back to some of the he was going to some of the ruins, the other ruins in Peru. And I was going on to Lima. So I went to Lima.
Did you fly to Lima from Cusco, or did you take a train? Do you remember?
I think it was a train, but I really can't remember. Maybe it was I probably flew.
That'd have been one wild train right there.
It must have been.
Peru actually has the highest train tracks in the entire world. There's some pass that goes over the Indian plateau there that's the highest train track.
When I get home, I'm going to have to review all this in the missionary journal. But I went
Yeah.
to Lima, there 2 or 3 days. Then I caught a flight. Went to
Guayaquil,
Guayaquil,
Ecuador.
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 Just a quick stop. Then went to Panama City for a day or so. And then up to Mexico City with stops in Nicaragua and Guatemala. And
Did you actually get out in those countries and look around? Or?
Yeah. But just at the airport.
Yeah.
Whatever, Costa Rica.
You've been to all those countries then?
I don't remember stopping in Honduras or not. But then went to Mexico City for about 3 days. Had my 23rd birthday in Mexico City. Had tours there.
You spent your 23rd birthday in Mexico City? I spent my 20th in Mexico City.
I love that.
Yeah. Flying to Peru. Yep.
And from there I flew out to Yucatan to Merida and spent one day going to Uxmal and Cabal and one day at Chichen Itza.
That's on the Yucatan.
Yucatan Peninsula. From there I flew to Havana for a day.
Havana, Cuba?
Havana, Cuba.
Wow.
Which
Was Fidel Castro there at that time? Or he
no,
was?
that was before him, but I was there overnight, a day or so, overnight, and it was a terribly oppressive feeling. I hated that place.
Wow.
I was walking along the main highway along the beach coast there, right in front of the Hilton Hotel. Got attacked by a bunch of kids. I beat them off and headed for my hotel. I never want to see Havana again.
Attacked in what way? Trying
I
to?
was just trying to grab my wallet over there.
Yeah.
And
Just molesting you and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
it's obviously a foreigner, rich Yankee or something. Alone.
Huh.
So then I flew out to Miami.
Now, did you have to wear missionary clothes this whole time, or were you able to wear civilian clothes?
I saved my one suit so that when I got off the plane in Miami, there my grandpa and Click and Ron Beer, I would really look sharp. So I remember this brown suit that I'd been saving all my mission wearing it very sparingly, so I really looked sharp. When I got off the plane in Miami, I thought I really looked great. And later on, Grandma said she could have cried I looked so awful, so worn out and everything.
So did you fly from Havana to Miami then?
Yeah.
Wow.
We stayed in Miami for a day or two and just drove on up home to Gainesville.
So when did you actually get home then? Home to home? Back to Gainesville?
7th of June.
1958.
1958. And there was a very active draft board at the time. I'd had a missionary deferment. as an authorized minister.
Yep.
And I thought, well, I could go back to college and finish up my last 2 years of college. Or I can just go ahead and go to the military, go to the Army, and get it over with. Because I thought if I go to school and then go into the Army, I'll have another break, and I'll have a hard time finding a job, so it'd be wiser for me just to go into the Army. So I spent the summer painting houses and fences and roofing, just stuff like that, any kind of job I could find. Usually working with broadsheet. In September,
That's exactly what I did.
September 8th, I officially went into the U.S. Army for the beginning of 2 years. And
That was 1958, right?
And I was given papers to be in charge of all the group of draftees who were heading for,
Korea.
well, no, South Carolina, Fort Jackson.
But I mean, this was all.
No, we were just going to Fort Jackson for basic training. So I went there. On Sundays, I'd go to a base chapel, which is Protestant denominational services, until we could get past it. Then I'd go to there was a church, an LDS church, not too far off base, so we went there.
So you'd only been home for less than 2 months then, when you went into the Army.
Well, 3 months.
Population?
Well, June, July, yeah, 3 months, okay.
The members of the church were real good to us there. They invited us home for dinner.
In Columbia?
In Columbia.
South Carolina?
Really nice. Of course, there was one family there that always grabbed me. They had a very eligible daughter. Her name was Garetha. They were really, really nice people. And Garetha was really a nice girl, very temperamental. You know, I'm not in a position to get mixed up with serious about anyone. So, but anyway, they were just really nice to us. They take us back based on that. And then after 8 weeks of basic training, I went to, it was supply school. We just all chose for different things, went to different parts of the base for different kinds of training. I ended up being the outstanding honor graduate of this.
Cool.
And then came the time, after the end of those 8 weeks, we found out where we were going for our first permanent assignment. And they were posted, and people were going out of California to Texas to Germany, and there was my name, and there was another guy going to Seoul, Korea. And I could just die. I walked around that post, and I think I was literally crying. What did I ever do to deserve this? I thought it was just, you know, the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. Anyway, the time came, we flew to Oakland, California.
You flew from?
San Francisco.
You flew from? Okay, so you had just gotten the
So
notification to go to Korea.
The Oakland Army Terminal, where you had a couple, 2 or 3 days or whatever.
When was that, when you actually got to Oakland? Do you remember approximate dates?
No, it would have been probably I think it was January or early February. I think it was sometime in January, late January.
Not 1959, right?
Yeah, but on one Sunday, I
Did
went.
you take a plane to Oakland or a train?
They would float.
Okay.
So on one day, I found the address of an LDS church, so that we'll all go there. There's an LDS churches or meetings, or I think maybe the paper even had the time of meeting. So I took the cab to that place, and I got out of the cab and looked at it. This is real strange. They've got a neon sign on this LDS church, but the address is right, and I don't remember what it said, but you know, Jesus saves or something like that. And this is really weird. I just stood there, and I realized this is not an LDS church. Now what do I do? How do I get out of here? I figured on some members would take me to some place I could catch a bus or cab or something, because it was out in a residential area somewhere. There was no one else around. And a car pulled up, and some people got out.
Wait, how did you get from the airport then to the?
Well, I'd been from the airport. They took us by bus to the Oakland Army Terminal, where we were staying there to process.
Oh, okay. So you just had some downtime.
Downtime, yeah.
Okay.
Downtime. In fact, one day we'd gone into San Francisco to a movie. And
Okay, so you just had some leave, basically. Okay.
On Sunday, I was the only LDS person there that I knew, so I went to see the LDS church.
So you had just taken a taxi or something?
Taxi.
Oh,
And
okay.
then he went on. And there I'm stranded, not knowing what to do, but a car pulled up. And they said, can we help you? And I said, well, I'm looking for an LDS church, but I thought this was the address I had. They said, well, they said, we were members of this church. This was our old ward, but we built a new church, and so we sold it to another Protestant church. They said, today was our stake conference, and just for old time's sake, we decided to come back to buy here. So just at that split second, pure coincidence, yeah, sure.
Right.
They came by. And so they picked me up and said, well, we'll take you back. And they said, would you like to see the Oakland Temple site? I thought that was wonderful. So they took me up where they were going to build the Oakland Temple. Showed me the...
Did you have your army clothes on or uniform?
Probably, yeah, because I'm getting civilian clothes.
Yeah.
So, at least I don't remember the civilian clothes. So they took me up by where the church already built a big, like a big auditorium or a multi-stake facility for various things. And they took me back to the post in their Oakland Army Terminal. That was, if they'd been there, 30 seconds earlier.
You never might still be standing on that street corner.
But anyway, then got on the Army ship. Well, we went to Seattle, sailed to Seattle, from San Francisco, and again.
When did you actually sail to
I don't remember
Seattle?
the exact days, but.
So you'd only been in Oakland a few days then, right?
A few days.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had troops coming from various places. Some were going to Japan, some to Korea. So we sailed under the Golden Gate Bridge, and there again, you weigh just like going past the Statue of Liberty 3 years earlier. Well, we sailed down our first stop. Well, of course, you get seasick, and troop ships are not luxury liners by any means. But they had, they had a library. They had a place where you could go and read. They had a place where they had LDS services. In fact, the first day I was there, the first time, the LDS services will be held in the library at such and such time. Did I hear right? I wasn't sure. You didn't eat all your macaroni?
So you'd heard about the LDS services
I wasn't sure I'd heard right, because I wasn't expecting anything like that, but I went to the library to see. And sure enough, LDS services, there were some civilians, and some other Army troops on board ship. So we got to be good friends, and it made the rest of the trip a whole lot nicer. I can't remember how long it seemed like it was almost 2 weeks or something crossing the ocean. That may be an exaggeration again. I'd have to look in my journals.
That might be about right.
But
maybe a week or 10 days. Well, you're going to Korea. It might be 2 weeks.
I remember I had a little pocket radio, and one night out on deck, I was just watching the stars. That everything's total black around you, but the stars are just like diamonds flashing in the sky. I was playing with the radio station KSL in Salt Lake City, Utah, coming just as clear as if I'd been standing right
in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
In the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
So you went from Oakland to Seattle, and then Seattle out into the Pacific.
We stopped in
What was the name
Okinawa.
What was the name of the ship? Do you know?
The General Mitchell was either ship I went on or ship I came back on. I can't remember which.
Okay.
It was just a regular troop ship, very luxurious.
Now you said there were civilians on it as well?
There were civilians.
What were they doing on it?
They were Army civilians working for the Army.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we got to Okinawa, spent a day, went to the tea house of the August Moon, had a wonderful dinner there, sitting on the floor. Then we went to what's the port for Tokyo?
Haneda?
No, that's the airport.
Oh, right, yeah. There's another one called Narita. That's Tokyo as well.
I can't think of the name of the city. I know it as well as my...
Yokohama?
Yokohama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yokohama.
So that's not what Japanese pronounce, but yeah, Yokohama. So
Yokohama is a suburb of New York, Tokyo. It's kind of like Los Angeles would be a suburb of New York City. They both have like 50 billion people in them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're huge cities now, at least now they are.
Yokohama's also the name of the beach in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went into Tokyo, had a wonderful time. Back on the ship.
So after Okinawa, you went to Tokyo.
Tokyo, just sightseeing. And then back, the ship and then on to Korea, landed at Incheon, and then there was some processing in there at the Incheon Army Base, you know, all Quonset huts and very temporary U.S. Army facilities. Then on, I guess by bus, into Seoul, where I found that actually I had been handpicked, one of two people handpicked to be at United Nations headquarters. It was United Nations and 8th U.S. Army headquarters. So we had very nice, I mean it was a dorm type place we lived in. We had a good bit of privacy. I had a houseboy to come and do my laundry, to make my bed, to polish my shoes, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing there, but I was assigned to work on some secret Army war plans. They do war games. They play what would happen if this happened.
Yeah, scenario type stuff.
So every day, I and 5 other guys would a car would pick us up, a truck or whatever, take us out to what had been the Japanese intelligence headquarters in Seoul during World War II. And there we would go deep inside this bunker where the officers there were doing their planning.
Yeah.
So that's how I spent 13 months, except for R&R when I went back to Tokyo for a week. Got caught in a typhoon there, so my stay in Tokyo was delayed, and I wandered around Tokyo by myself for all that time.
Jeez.
I had a wonderful time, though. Not speaking a word of Japanese, but I
Got around okay?
got along okay.
Did so when did you actually get to Korea then? Do you remember the day?
It was probably in
month?
January, because you're there. It was a 13-month course. I left there in February.
You say you got to Korea in January?
I think it's yeah.
Because you had said earlier you thought it was January, February timeframe when you got to Oakland, California.
Well, but you know, a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, I get. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it's
I
still
got
the same month or approximately.
Okay.
All this is written down in my journal.
Okay.
Specific date. So I had a wonderful time. I loved Korea. It would turn out to be the greatest thing, adventure I'd ever had. My best friend there was LDS, and he worked in the general's mess hall. It was a special place for the military. So although our mess hall was wonderful, they had excellent food. On every table there were 3 kinds of milk, regular milk, chocolate milk, buttermilk, and you could have anything you want. I mean, food, they had their own ice cream plant. I mean, it was really, really, really nice.
Wow.
And with the houseboy, I didn't have to do any work or anything. And a wonderful club there. They had USO troops. In fact, one of the first I saw was a group from BYU that came on, put on a comedy, a play. And so you go up there in the library, you could check out records, and go into a private little room and play records and all. And that's where I heard on a jukebox in the club, the Tabernacle Choir was singing Bell Hymn of the Republic. That's when it became a big hit, #1 hit.
Is that right?
And so people were playing that all the time in the club. So it was really nice. Anyway, this friend of mine, I go to his place, fine china, fine linen, a really scrumptious food. And he was not the cook. He was just sort of an assistant.
Yeah.
But on weekends, you know, he could get a Jeep. So we would go out, we would tour the city of Seoul. We would go out into the country to see the old palaces, the old temples and that.
Yeah.
We drove up to the LDS church there, visit missionaries, and go to a church meeting within the Korean branch.
Huh.
So my time in Korea, you know, instead of being a punishment as I had thought when I was leaving Fort Jackson, it turned out to be a great, great honor and a blessing. United Nations headquarters.
That's cool.
U.S. Army headquarters.
So you were actually in Korea for 13 months total?
13 months. Minus my vacation time. Then took another ship. Oh, that's where I had the operation on my arm.
That was in Korea?
Korea.
I'm going to have to come back and ask you about some of these individual stories later.
But then sailed back to San Francisco and to Oakland. And then two of my friends who'd been on the ship too, one of them was from Burbank, California. So we flew down to Burbank, to his home, and we took his family car and drove down into Los Angeles to Disneyland. It wasn't Disney World, it was Disneyland. We did that, and then I said goodbye to them. And, took the train to Salt Lake with a stop in Las Vegas to visit my favorite aunt, Anita, who was the one who'd been the babysitter of a bunch of the stars, movie stars, and entertainment people. And she loved the glamour lights in Las Vegas. I did too.
Huh.
So she sort of showed me around there. We didn't have time to see good shows, but she showed me some of the hotels, the kind of excitement they had there. And then I took the train on to Salt Lake. Went to see Gordon and Sharon. They just got married in December. So I spent a few days with them in their apartment. He was in law school then. Then I flew home to Florida. And
What airlines was it? Do you remember?
United.
Huh.
And to Chicago, to Atlanta, and then to Gainesville. And well, I got back home in, I guess that was in April, and I was only there for a while, a short period of time. And then I took the train up to New York. My next assignment was at 8th Army Headquarters on Governor's Island in New York City. And that's where I spent my last several months in there.
So, how long were you back in Florida before you had to go back to New York?
I don't remember. You get 30 days leave, but I had used some of it, and I was given travel time too from Oakland to New York, so, I
So
don't know
just
how
a
long.
brief time.
Brief.
So then you went from Gainesville up to...
Took the train up to New York City, went up to Governor's Island, reported in. And they said, "What is your MOS?" Your MOS is your military occupational specialty. And I said, "Well, officially it's supply clerk." And they said, "Well, supply clerk." And I said, "Well," I told them what else I had done in Korea. And they said, "Oh, how would you like to work in the hospital here? They need someone in the message center." So I said, "That sounds better." I'd never done a minute's worth of time in the supply field. So I was assigned to work in the message center with another guy at the hospital.
On Governor's Island.
On Governor's Island, at 8th Army Headquarters. Well, Governor's Island was an old military post, but really nice, but it was being phased out. So there were a lot of buildings that were not being used. But all the hospital staff lived together, or the single troops. The guy I worked with was married, so he lived in Brooklyn. He came to work there. Of course, the doctors and nurses and all that lived. Some of them lived on the island, some lived wherever.
So you said you did live on the island? Or you
I
did?
lived on the island.
Yeah, okay. On base or?
On base.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole island was a base.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Nothing else there but a base.
Now, how long did you have to spend in the Army in New York City then?
Well, until September, from April to September.
So you had to finish out a 2-year engagement with the
I
Army.
finished up my 2 years there on Governor's Island. I loved working in the hospital.
So it's all been 1959, right?
Yeah. And all our meals were there in the hospital. We had a special hospital dining room. Like, how do you want your eggs? Over easy, sunny side up, scrambled, whatever. Everything was cooked to order. And, it was really great. So my 2 years in the Army turned out to be a great adventure, and I have no regrets. No regrets.
That's cool.
It was a great experience. Korea, New York, in New York City. My weekends were free, evenings were free. I had enough work. I could go into New York City, take the ferry. The ferry went back and forth 24 hours a day, I guess. Take the subway up to Midtown. You can get free tickets to any Broadway show.
Is it because you're in the military that you can get them like that? Wow.
So the place had, extra tickets. They'd give so many to the U.S. So we could go to the Broadway shows, radio, TV, broadcast.
That's cool.
If I was by myself, you know, like on Saturday night, I'd go Radio City Music Hall for $1 to $4 to see the stage show and first class movie. And then on Sunday, I'd go up there and spend the day in Manhattan Ward. In Korea, I'd had some civilian clothes made. The first one I got there, I got more.
Yeah.
So I had some civvies.
Huh.
So, you know, after I'd wear a uniform to work, and put on my civilian clothes, and off I'd go. I'd go to the museums, go to, you know, eat and everything.
So then you would have finished your Army assignment in 1959. September of 1959?
60. It was 2 years.
What did I write there?
58 to 60.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And Grandma and Grandpa and Roger and Clint drove up to meet me. They stayed in a hotel right at Times Square.
So the Army was September of 1958 to September of 1960.
And I got out
Okay.
September 7th, 1960. They came up maybe the 4th of September, something like that. Anyway, 3 days. Well, I was there. I took them to see the Music Man on Broadway. Stayed out, and I took them to Ice Capades at Madison Square Garden. I took them to a New York Yankees baseball game. I went to church there. And, you know, I'd go back to base at night. And found Grandma and Grandpa, they'd say goodbye to me, and they'd go out kind of on their own. And that tickled us all, Roger Clinton. But the Army was great for me. So anyway, then time came to come back to Florida. I had never been to Washington, D.C. I've gone through it, but they had been there any number of times with school troops and school groups, you know, chaperones and this and that. They had been there in meetings.
Hold on just one second. We're talking about going to Washington, D.C. for the first time.
Yeah, so Dad said, well, would you like to stay here and do some sightseeing? I said, oh, that would be great.
So wait, they came up to New York to get you then?
Yeah.
When you left the Army? Got out of the Army?
Yeah. So they knew of a hotel right downtown, which is where the FBI building is now.
Oh.
So we stayed there, and I've got a lot of colored slides I took from the top of the Washington Monument. A lot of them are looking over toward the Commerce Building. Little did I know that I was going to spend 30-some years in that building.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. But then there was a hurricane heading for Florida, so we raced a hurricane back to Florida. We got there about...
Did you drive or were you flying
No,
or train?
driving. We got there just hours before the hurricane.
Wow.
So it was exciting. Then I went back to college.
When did you finally get back into school then?
Well, that was in the fall of 60. And at that time, I changed my major to public relations.
So I went back to college
Yeah.
to University of Florida
I had
in fall of 1960, right?
Yeah, fall of 1960.
And changed major to
Public
from
relations. Well, I'd started out as a freshman thinking I was going to go into architecture, where I decided I did not want to spend my life over a drafting board. I was going to switch to criminology, but I was just getting started in that when I went on my mission. So I came back, went into public relations, did a lot of writing. A lot of my art was published in the newspaper.
Is that when you wrote When the Crackers Burn the Onions?
I did that. I wrote that for a college class, and it was picked up by all these Sunday magazines throughout Florida.
Huh.
And
That was cool.
so that's exciting. And then went back, graduated from college, and
When did you actually graduate from college then?
it was in June 1962.
Graduated June 1962
Yeah.
with your bachelor's in public relations.
It was a Bachelor of Science in Journalism, with the major in public relations, BSJ. He was in the School of Journalism and Communications.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
I spent, the folks were going to Kansas, they were going out west or something, so I was, there, Roger must have been on his mission at that time. I guess Clinton done with the folks. No, I guess Clinton was on his mission too. Roger had been, I don't know.
Roger went to France and Clinton went to Brazil.
Yeah.
So after you graduated from Florida in 1962,
I spent much of the summer on job interviews, just looking for job hunting. And one day a man from the Census Bureau called me up. I can't remember how we got my resume, but the application number. So he would like to talk to me. So he was going up to Tampa. Asked if I'd come down there to Tampa to see me. I did. I go down there. And he liked me. He offered me a job at the Census Bureau, in the personnel office. He said, you have a choice, would you like to work in computer programming or in personnel? Computer programming, I was like, would you like to teach ancient Egyptian?
yeah.
Or which?
Funny how things can change over
I
time.
had no idea what that even was, really. So I said, well, personnel sounds interesting. So he offered me a job there, and that's what brought me to Washington.
So you interviewed in Tampa, right?
Yeah. I've been on some other interviews, but I didn't really like.
You were offered a job in computer programming.
Or personnel.
Or
I have often wondered how my life would have been different if I had chosen computer programming. It ended up, I being the one who, I ended up doing the hiring of computer programmers and trainees for the Census Bureau.
Huh, that's ironic. Very ironic. So you obviously chose personnel.
Personnel, so I went there. Well, he offered me the job earlier in the summer, but I went there and reported in September because it took me a while. I had to wait for Mom and Dad.
So you reported to D.C., right?
Yeah, well, Suitland, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
A suburb of D.C.
Yeah.
So I had no transportation of my own. Grandma and Grandpa were kind enough to buy me a Dodge.
That was early fall 1960, right? Or 1962.
62. Yeah.
1962. Okay.
A Dodge Polara 500, which was sort of like a, I don't know what people compare it with today.
A Dodge
Polara 500.
How do you spell Polara?
Polara.
Huh. Is that like a real cool car back then, or was it a...
Oh, it was cool. I had been looking at another Dodge, a big sedan. And I said, well, he said, why don't you like this car over here? That it's smaller, you know, it's more...
A little more
it's
sporty?
racy, sportier.
Yeah.
But it was a four-door sedan.
Huh.
But it was just it didn't look like a big hulking
Yeah.
thing. So Grandma and Grandpa were kind enough to buy that for me, so off I went to Washington. So I had some friends from Florida who found out I was coming to Washington. I think I'd use them as references, or one of those references on the application or something. And they'd been checked out. So they called me up and said, hey, if you come up here, come stay with us. So they lived in a high-rise building down in southwest Washington, just a couple of blocks from where I worked now. So I moved in with them on the 6th floor of their place.
So you actually lived in downtown D.C. then?
Yeah, but only for a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, they were working in the Capitol, and I was going driving out to the Suitland, so I thought it'd be easier to
Get a place to live out there.
So I moved out there a few weeks and bought furniture and moved into a brand new garden apartment. So I spent 3 years at the Census Bureau. Very happy, very good years. I went to the Washington Ward. Was a state missionary for a long time. I was General Secretary of the Adulteronic Priesthood at first, and then I became a state missionary, and became was the 70s group leader. I was ordained to 70 by Harold B. Lee.
Wow. Remember what year that was? Was he the president of the church then, or was he just an apostle?
He was an apostle. He became president. some years later.
Okay.
Again, I don't remember the exact dates. Well,
Okay.
I stayed. I lived in Suitland, Maryland for about 3 years, but then I was asked to go down to Office of the Secretary of Commerce, their personnel office, on a detail for a few months to do some special writing they wanted. So somehow they had heard about it.
So you were on loaners from the Census Bureau, basically,
Yeah,
doing a
straight out
TDY,
on loan,
temporary
yeah.
duty type
Call
thing.
it a detail. So I went down there from September. In November, they asked me if I would stay permanently. So I said, okay. So in September, must have been 90 or 74.
No, it had to have
No,
been 64.
64.
No, actually it had to have been 65. Because you were at...
No, because in January '65, I moved into another apartment in Virginia.
Well, because didn't you take the job with the Census Bureau in fall of 1962?
Yeah.
And you were there for 3 years?
Maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was 6. Yeah. I was there 3 years. Well, just under 3 years.
Okay.
So it would have been 65. But then since I was working downtown, the commute was kind of hectic. I tried driving in to a place and then taking the bus, and it wasn't really great. So I thought I'd look around for another apartment. So I looked around various places in Arlington. One day I found a new place that was just getting ready to open. It was a high-rise, brand new. So I went in there and I loved it. What I found for $165, it was only a one-bedroom place, but really luxurious. 8th floor corner, big floor-to-ceiling windows, large. The bathroom as big as the bedroom. Really very.
So you'd gone from living in D.C. for a few weeks to living in Suitland, Maryland, now to this apartment in Northern Virginia.
South Four Towers. So I got this place, and then for another $10 a month, I could rent a garage space for my car. So then it was right on a bus line, right on Columbia Pike, on a bus line, so I could get into work easy. And
You were in Suitland, living in Suitland for several years then, right?
a couple of years ago. And I became state mission president, or ward mission president. Ward mission leader, whatever it wasn't called that in those days, whatever it was called. I was in charge of all the state missionaries in Washington Ward. And one day they asked me they said, we need some more. Do you have any recommendations? I said, well, there's this girl over here, I think her name is Sharon Olson, and one of her roommates. Sharon always comes to church carrying her scripture. That's how
So you were still in Washington Ward?
Still in Washington Ward.
And you were the...
Ward. It was mostly a single.
Okay, and serving as a state commission president?
This is as a ward mission.
Oh,
like
ward mission leader. Okay.
But that wasn't the title. It was like the 70s group leader, but I was in charge of the state missionaries in the ward. So I had to have the meetings. So I arranged to have Sharon called as a state missionary. So we just got better and better and better acquainted. She lived in Georgetown with a whole household of girls. I'd invite them out to my apartment to watch general conference. Of course, they were just overwhelmed with this luxurious place. Lobby, we had a swimming pool outdoors, ice skating rink, tennis courts, the works. So they were, most people in Washington Ward, they'd get about 10 of them together and rent a house somewhere, real crowded quarters, living on top of each other. That wasn't for me. I could afford a nice apartment. I was living by myself, but the building had everything. There was a laundry and a dry cleaner, a beauty shop, and a gym.
So when did you and Mom actually meet?
7-Eleven. Well, I don't remember being particularly aware of her, talking to her before. Maybe I had, but just casually.
Well, maybe when did you guys start officially dating or making...
Well, it would have been
after
I moved there, because in February 5th of 66, I asked her if she would like to teach me how to ice skate. I didn't tell her that I'd ice skated in Fairbanks, Alaska all my life. all the time here, and she said, yeah, she keeps me ice skate. So on the first date, she came out there to South Four Towers, and we ice skated. We just got to be better and better friends, and I guess April Constance. And they'd have me over for dinner occasionally. You know, I was dating other girls at the time and all. But we just got to be better and better friends. Finally got to be really, really good friends.
When did you guys actually get engaged? Do you remember? It was on the steps of the.
July 15th, 1966, about 1 in the morning.
Everything happens at 1 o'clock in the morning. You're a night owl. Okay, so July 15th.
We've been wandering around.
1966 at 1 a.m.
Around 1 a.m. Maybe a little bit later than that. We were on the steps of the Lincoln.
Probably later.
Watching the reflecting pool. Reflection of the
Steps of the Lincoln?
Washington Monument.
Oh, steps of the Washington Monument?
Steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh, steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Like I said.
Watching the reflection of the Washington
Okay.
Monument reflecting. And I proposed. And she said yes. So the next day I went to a jewelry store near where I lived and I bought a ring. She hadn't told her roommates that night, that next night, 16th of July. She came over to my apartment. We were just sitting there on the couch. I was playing with her hands. She had a ring on, and I was playing with the ring, pulling that one off and putting it on. You know, just playing on that. But she wasn't paying attention, so I pulled that one off and slipped the diamond picture on.
Oh, really?
She didn't even notice it at first.
That's funny.
So that was good.
Then you guys got married? November 1966.
Yeah, we waited so long because Roger and Diane were getting married in August, the next month.
Actually, that's not that long.
No, we hear around people now in our area, they're engaged for a year and a half or 2 years before they actually
Yeah.
It takes them that long to get all the planning, or reserve a church and a minister.
And grow the flowers that they're gonna
Yeah, all of that.
throw in the aisle as they walk down so they can
Reserve
stamp
the
on
rice
it.
from the patties and
Yeah, exactly. Huh.
So that takes stuff to do, and 11 months later you showed up.
Isn't that funny? So how long? So did you guys actually move into mom or to your apartment then?
Yeah, we moved into my apartment.
And then you would have moved to the Braddock Road house.
Mom never really liked living in a high-rise apartment, but she worked downtown, I worked downtown, so it was convenient. You know, we had a garage parking for one place, the other car had to stay out on the parking lot. But you know, she could go and have her hair done there in the building. There's a 7-Eleven if you needed.
A lot of
groceries.
conveniences.
Everything was in the neighborhood, but we're right on the bus line, and so usually we'd meet or we'd arrange to be on the same bus going home. Or she'd come down, get on the bus downtown, or if we were to do some shopping, or the bus I was on, it would stop right by the place where she worked. Most of the time.
You know, it's interesting because mom told me, maybe she's told you this, she said the apartment was nice there, but she said the one strange thing was that she felt like she'd always just moved into your apartment instead of your apartment being a place that was for the two of you. And that it was, in a way, it was a relief moving to the Braddock Road place because it was like the two of you starting together, basically, somewhere.
Well, that's right. And there were two huge walk-in closets, and she said I didn't move everything out of one and turn one completely over to her. You know, this is the male mind. I just, what?
Oh, you wanted a place to put your clothes?
No, it wasn't that. There was plenty of room for her to put her clothes, but she wanted a closet of her own. And, you know, it didn't occur to me. I mean,
This is the way it was, yeah.
It's men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah.
They just, you know, and she never let me forget that.
So you guys really only lived in that apartment then for just a few months?
Well, we had to stay because I had a 1-year lease. So we stayed until, well, we started looking for another place to move into. She didn't like the high rise we did before. But I loved that, and I loved the floor to ceiling windows, because I like light. And
Yeah.
there's a big balcony and
Airiness
everything,
and-
so it was nice. And for my
So when-
birthday, she'd given me a grill, so we go out on the balcony and cook out.
Is that same grill we had had for years in the backyard at Byford Court?
Well, I don't think so.
Remember that? It had like a back on it and everything, and trays and doors?
I don't think that was the same. I
Huh.
think it was. But anyway, after that, we started looking for, when we found you were coming along, we decided we better get a house if we could, and we looked at other apartments, we looked at other houses. We could not find anything. We finally decided, well, there's this apartment down there on Little River Turnpike near a landmark, and I guess we might as well settle for that. We weren't completely happy, but it was the best thing we found. And when we were driving down there one day, and we saw this sign to another road. And, well, why don't we just go down here and see what's there? And we drive down there, and there's a sign in front of this house for rent. Well, it won't hurt to stop. Well, the man had just put the sign out a few minutes earlier.
Is there?
He said yes, he was moving out. The owner lived down in Norfolk or Virginia Beach or somewhere. Basically, I think the rent was $165 a month, which is what we've been paying for the one-bedroom apartment, but that included all utilities. This was $165 for a three-bedroom house, and he showed us through it. We loved the house. It was cozy. It was small, but it was really cozy. It had pull-down stairs. It had a big screen porch around the back, huge backyard with strawberry patch there. We loved the house. He said, the owners, you just make up whatever terms you want. You write the lease, and he approves it. This is just too good to be true. And the timing, again.
Yeah, just not a coincidence, just a blessing.
Just a blessing.
Somebody watching out for you.
So we moved in there.
How was the rent there compared to the
It
apartment?
was the same. It was the same.
Oh, wow.
$165 a month. But we had to pay utilities.
Yeah.
But they weren't much. But the heat was under the floor, so there were no ducts or anything.
So the radiant heat, is that what they call it?
I think it was radiant heat, yeah.
Yeah.
The floor was carpeted in. But, that made it much cleaner. You didn't have the dust or soot or anything like that.
Blowing all over the house.
Through
Yeah.
the ducts or anything. A nice refrigerator, dishwasher, and all that. Washer, dryer, a freezer. There's a storeroom out off the back porch. And it had a driveway. There was no garage, but it had a driveway. The front yard was completely enclosed in a huge high hedge, which I liked because it gave you total privacy there. The backyard had an outdoor dry.
Yeah, carport.
No, a dry.
Oh, awning?
Closed.
Oh, not a meshed room or whatever you want to
No,
call
it
it.
was just the clotheslines, the spin type clothesline, like Grandma had in Phoenix in her backyard.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what you
Yeah,
call
what you
them.
call it.
Umbrella clothesline or something?
Yeah, something.
Umbrella shaped or?
Well, we had to do a lot of work there. We came in at night, after the guy worked, his family moved out. We went in and we painted rooms. We had to dig ivy out of the fireplace. We had to...
Do you guys have air conditioning there?
No.
Okay.
But it was just, we moved things around, there were a lot of bookcases and all that. The bedrooms were small, but there was a living room, it was comfortable size, a bathroom and a half.
Interestingly enough, I actually have a memory of that house, believe it or not. And the memory is, I know I was only a few months old, but this is no joke. I remember you were carrying me, I think, into the house, and it was in the evening. We went into the house, and you were holding me. And as you walked in, I don't know if this is exactly right, if I remember right, as you walked in, there was kind of a wall on the left, and more of like a big room or a living room on the right. And you walked in, and there was a hallway that went down to the left, and maybe like a larger room or a kitchen back up over here. And you stopped and held me right there, kind of at that intersection where everything sort of came together. And I just remember that. It's like, I don't remember if there's wooden floors or what. I just kind of remember that moment or whatever, for whatever reason. I don't know if that layout is...
Yeah, that's pretty much pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't remember anything else about it.
There was a wall, but there was a door, coat closet right there.
Yeah, I
And
just
then down
remember
to the
this.
left, a little bit farther on, was a hallway off to the bedrooms. And
It went down to the left.
it went down to the left and then made a right turn back to the other bedroom.
Huh.
Both bedrooms around the corner.
Was the living room over to the right then as you first walk in? Yeah, I kind of remember just an open space over there. For some reason, I just have that image.
Well,
Still.
we loved that house. I had to do an awful lot of work to fix stuff and discovered that we had a strawberry patch under all the weeds and grass.
Wow.
But we were spending all our time working in the yard and sneezing and all. But we loved that house. We kept going to Washington Ward. Mom was in the Relief Society presidency. I still doing missionary work. But maybe by then by then I guess I was head of the adult Aaronic priesthood. It's hard to remember what came in what order.
Yeah.
But we finally decided that with you there, maybe there was a Springfield Ward meeting in the Annandale Stake Center, which was, like 2 miles away.
So when you guys moved to that ward, you weren't in the Washington Ward anymore. You were in the Annandale Ward?
Well, we moved in the Springfield Ward boundaries.
So when you moved into that house, you were in the Springfield Ward?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't go there until February 1968.
So you were actually living in one ward's boundaries, but attending a different ward for a while?
We drove into Washington Ward
Okay.
for a long time.
Where was the Washington Ward building located?
16th Street,
And-
straight up from Columbia Road.
16th?
Straight up from the White House.
Huh.
And the church sold that building to some company who sold it to the Moonies. And now a fellow at a wedding reception said the church is trying to buy it back because the area was going downhill. I mean, I had a raincoat or coat and things stolen out of my car parked while I was at church. And so the neighborhood was going down. Now it's a very in area. There are a lot of embassies right around
Yeah.
there.
Interesting.
So now this guy said the church wants to build it back and turn it back into a single sport because it's safe and very
Yeah.
trendy.
Huh.
They did take Moroni off the top of it.
Oh, is that
The
right?
building was designed specifically to be a showplace for the church in Washington.
Wow, that's cool.
Ezra Tapdance and his family went there when they lived in Washington. But then in February of '68, we started going to the Stake Center to the Springfield.
Wow. Tell me about the story where right after you and Mom got married, it's the story of the A1 steak sauce or the ketchup or the mustard, where somebody said, please pass me or where's your mustard or where's your ketchup or something? That's a funny story.
Shortly after we got married, Mom had fixed some Chinese food for dinner. I said, where's the soy sauce?
The soy sauce.
And that almost caused a divorce. It's like,
Yeah, because she felt like it was like saying, what, am I not able to put the proper things or do the right things or something like that? Timing might have just been bad.
It was just, you don't understand the female mind. No man will ever understand how women's minds operate.
Ah, dear you.
It doesn't happen. You just don't do it.
I'll vouch for that.
I repeat, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or somewhere else.
But somehow we all get along and meet on Earth, so make it work.
Yeah, that's just. Where's the soy sauce?
Now, tell us the story about the scar on your arm from Korea.
Oh, in Korea, I've had a bunch of strange things all my life. When I was 8 years old, I had an emergency appendectomy that almost killed me. And so, 8 years old, I spent Thanksgiving in the hospital for several days.
In Alaska?
In Alaska. Everybody's carrying my appendix taken out and doctoring me up. When I was 19, I had a growth on my spine, a double cyst on my spine that laid me under so I couldn't move. They had that operated on. I was flat on my back and couldn't move for several days. That's when one day, Sunday afternoon, I was dozing, I was in and out of consciousness, and I heard some people singing hymns. And I opened my eyes and started crying because I thought I had died and gone to heaven.
Oh,
I thought I had died anyway. It was a church group. Sometimes the group was singing underneath my window. You know, they were just
At the
they were
hospital?
singing at the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
But that brought me out of my. No, I was crying. I thought that I had died.
Is that right?
And then Mom and Grandma came in and saw that I was covered. I was soaked in blood. The two were not related, but
Yeah.
you know, and I couldn't move, and I didn't know, but I was bleeding badly like that.
From where the incision was in the back?
Yeah.
Or?
So I spent much of the summer recuperating from that. And then in Korea, my left hand started going paralyzed on me, or numb. So I went to the doctor, he said it's a parietal cyst. And it's a cyst that grows in the nerves there, in the blood vessels. And he said it had to come out. Now, hand surgery is some of the most delicate because of all the bones. There are more
Yeah.
bones and nerves and things. So I went to the Army hospital there, just thinking not much at all. And I ended up spending, I think it's probably 10 days there. I came out of, they put me to sleep, and I woke up, and I was like in a bed. It was like a baby bed. There were the bars there. And this nurse was there pouring water back and forth, and she said, "You've got to go to the bathroom. You've got to go to the bathroom. You've got to see if your kidneys are working." I was, "What? Lady, get out of here." Anyway, I guess I finally satisfied her that my kidneys were working all right. But my arm was in a sling. There were wires in it. It was in a sling, but at the time my arm was
Elevated.
set up like that. Anyway, I was there for all these days with my arm in a sling. And when I went after I could get up and walk around and go to the mess hall, I had to push my thing along with my arm still held up in the air.
How long did you have to have it up in the air like that for?
Oh, I don't know. When I left hospital, it was in a sling, a cast in a sling. And I don't remember. I guess I went back to.
So they removed the cyst then, basically? So it's actually down your hand, right? Not in your...
It's right there, right in my wrist.
Yeah, where that little scar is?
And it's a T-shaped scar.
Yeah. Tell us the story about the infection you got in your feet from the sand pile as a kid.
Oh, well, in
Remember
Florida, yeah, in Florida, I just, you know, running around barefoot somewhat, and, you know, in the sand piles or whatever, just, you know, like kids do. And I noticed it was like a raised tunnel on top of my foot. What in the world? It actually was in my hand. It was in my hand.
Oh, really? I always thought it was in your foot.
It was in my hand. You know, but I was playing in the sand.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor. You just like you see a mole's tunnel or something.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. That's just what it was. It was just maybe it started small, but kept getting bigger and bigger. What is that anyway? I went to a doctor, and he said it's creeping eruption. You get it from being in sand or where animals go, like cats. You know, they do their
Business.
And it gets in, and you know, it gets worms and germs and things, and then you get your hands in it. You're not aware of anything.
But it gets
in the sand.
infected.
It's in the sand. You can't even see these things are so small. So they had to freeze it. Ethyl chloride. They freeze it. It's so cold it just burns.
Yeah.
It's harder than anything.
I actually had that done before to my hand for it.
And they had to do it
biopsy.
2 or 3 times until they finally killed it.
Did they cut it out or anything like that? Or was it just infection?
They froze it until it died, and maybe I can't remember if they
Drained it or anything like
cut
that?
it or drained it. That I don't remember. All I remember is the horrendous pain from freezing. But I had my hands burned, palms of both my hands, 2nd-degree burns from metal bars.
How'd you do that?
You know, going over these bars.
In the Army?
No, this is Florida.
Oh, like jungle gym type
Like
thing?
jungle gym things, where you just go swing.
Oh, they just get real hot in the sun.
Yeah, they just burned. Just each one was hot, but I didn't notice it. And then I got dropped down. All of a sudden, I realized that I don't know, 2 or 3 layers of skin or went away. It was just intense pain. So I had to have my hands bandaged.
Holy cow! So did they give you antibiotics for the creeping, whatever you call it?
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
God. Tell us about when you got your tonsils taken out. Do you remember that at all?
I was 4 years old in Salt Lake. They took me to the Salt Lake Clinic. And what I recall, whether this was the way it happened or not, they put me on an ironing board and strapped me down. had a bunch of scissors there.
Oh, really?
And when I woke up, I had a sore throat.
Huh. That's funny.
That's what I remember, you know. Like I say, I have no idea whether that has any resemblance to actuality.
Hold on a second. Okay. So tell me about burning down the hobo's house.
Well, it wasn't a hobo's
Alaska.
house. There are two stories. Hobos, homeless people lived down by the Chena River in Fairbanks. And they would get these huge, huge packing boxes and live in there. Well, we would like to go down there as kids do and explore. One day, we saw the camp where obviously hobo or something did, and I spotted some pastries there. And I stole one of those pastries, and that bothered me forever after that. I'd stolen his food.
This poor little hobo's food.
Poor hobo's food. With the burn in Fairbanks, we would, you know, build clubhouses, again, as kids do. And we would have these huge packing boxes, the size like refrigerators or big things would come.
Yeah, crate size.
Crate size, but even bigger than huge, huge. And we put two facing each other, and we put boards around the back of one or something, and boards over the top and hang something down. Gunny sacks or something would be doors, and that'd be our clubhouse. And one day we went in there, we had our candles, and somehow something caught on fire. And we got scared, and we ran out, ran around the block or something, we heard the fire engines coming.
This was in your backyard then?
No, it was in a friend's backyard.
Oh, friend's backyard, okay.
And we heard the fire engine coming. And, the fireman stopped and said, "Is there a fire around here?" We heard there's fire around here. We said, "Well, we don't need any fire." He went down there. Of course, you know, it was just a minor little thing, but someone had seen something on fire, and they, you know, panicked and called the fire department. Well, then the police came too. And they picked us up and took us down to the police station. He gave us a lecture about playing with matches. You know, they put the fear of you know where.
Yeah.
But this was just, you know.
It was innocent
kids,
fun.
Just innocent fun.
Just exploring life. Yeah.
As kids do. And it was no big deal. It was maybe one gunny sack caught on fire or something. You know?
But they were just making a lesson out of it. Is what
Yeah,
they were doing.
yeah. They were doing their job. But I always remember the junior police in Fairbanks, which was just sort of like a thing that little kids joined to show you were going to be good citizens and obey the law.
Sure wasn't really a top secret paramilitary organization for
Well, in fact, I still got
young
my
kids.
junior police card.
Oh, all right.
One of my souvenirs.
It might still be valid. Lifetime membership.
But that was,
Huh.
neither one of those stories are right.
They're funny though.
Funny, but you know, they're just, every kid has things like that.
But it gives us insight into who people really are. So tell us about climbing out the window and sneaking out of the window and...
Well, in Alaska, you know, in summertime, it does not get dark. You have virtually 24 hours of daylight. And so in bed, of course, in summer we would go to bed, 9 o'clock or whenever time Mom and Dad put us to bed. And one of us would manage to sneak out the door and go down to the drugstore and buy some comic books. Come there, and our room was right over the back door, the bedroom. So whoever was in there would drop down a rope, and the one who'd got the books would, you know, take them, they'd tie them on the rope, and we'd pull them up, and then you'd come back in the house, very innocent way. And we thought we were really very clever, so we'd spend the rest of the night or hours reading these comic books. We had no idea that Mom and Dad knew all about that.
All the time.
Until years later, they knew all about it.
Yeah, some
But, you know,
parents know.
If they had said, well, just go down and buy them, or
It wouldn't have been as
It
fun.
wouldn't have been fun. It was, you know,
Yeah.
the kinds of things kids need to do. It's
Yeah.
part of growing up. And
Yeah, it is. Pushing yourself to...
Push yourself too.
Huh. That's funny.
It was like going to the circus and going to the horse show. You missing, skipping lunch to save money to do.
That somebody would have just given you if you'd asked. That's funny. Is there any other story you can think of that you want to tell?
No.
before I turn this on. There's other things I'm going to ask. I want to ask you eventually, but I know it's getting kind of late. So, you sure?
This has been too long, too boring. No one's ever gonna listen to this.
Want to bet?
Who